Hey everybody, this is Alex Merced with another 101 video. This one is Blockchain 101. So I'm going to do a series of videos on blockchain, cryptocurrency tokens, explain the 101 on those because I think they are very important to sort of a libertarian free market future. But basically, what is blockchain? Basically, it's conceptually what it is that it addresses a couple different problems. So traditionally, a transaction is when two parties exchange value of some sort. And once upon a time, people would just exchange value, but there was no record kept of the exchange itself. And then people developed what's called a ledger. And the ledger could keep track of transactions between one party to another. So this way, if someone disputes, did this transaction happen, there's some sort of record of it so we can settle that dispute and make sure that what was exchanged for what. Problem with physical ledgers is that the information would be centralized. So basically, if someone burnt the physical ledger book with all the list of transactions, well, you no longer have that record. Also, there was subject to a lot of human error. So someone who's writing down the transaction might write down a 5 that looks like an S, or a 9 that looks like a different number, or something like, or that looks like a 6 or something. So what happens is that there'd be mistakes, and that could affect disputes down the road. Well, and then you could address the backup by creating a secondary physical one. But then when you rewrite every transaction, you're just introducing more room for human error. So then eventually what happened is that people created ledgers on computers. So this is like software like QuickBooks. And having a lot of those aspects of a ledger automated as far as calculating the math, writing it, backing it up, was a big improvement in being able to keep the integrity of records, but it was still centralized in the sense that if someone could hack into your computer or hack into your cloud backup, that they could manipulate your records. So then you'd have to invest in very high security, which you still do anyways. And that was sort of the issue with sort of computer ledgers. Because right now, most ledgers are always done through a counterparty. Most transactions, you have generally some sort of central party who keeps track of one ledger for transactions. So, for example, options, which are a type of security, the people who keep track of the ledger that keeps track of options transactions on options exchanges is known as the clearinghouse or the options clearing corporation. In securities, stocks, and bonds, who keeps track of the ledger of most transactions between large investment banks, a company called Deposit Trust Corporation. Problem is, these create sort of large sort of points in the system that if someone could somehow manipulate or break into, it could compromise the entire system. The redundancy isn't there. Problem is, creating the level of redundancy needed to create security can be very costly for that entity. So blockchain kind of addresses all these things. What it does, instead of having a ledger hosted by a central party, it creates what's called a decentralized ledger, where basically several people keep a copy of that ledger of transactions. And because of this, basically, the integrity is kept because the software will constantly be verifying, making sure that all these copies of the ledger are sort of in sync with each other. So if someone tried to manipulate their copy, the system would be like, okay, well, this person has manipulated their copy, ignore that one. Making it, and then so the only way to really manipulate the ledger would be to manipulate all the ledgers at once outside of the legitimate transaction process. So that's really cool because what this does is helps decentralize record keeping, which can eliminate the middleman like a DTC or an options clearing corporation to create a way to keep track of these records in a secure way, in an integral way, and especially for records that the public may want to have access to, like government records, securities and financial instrument records, which people are going to want to have sort of accessibility to in a lot of ways. It creates a way to create those records in public space that's visible but not manipulatable. So that's pretty exciting. So essentially, now you have a better way of keeping track of kind of any exchange of value. Now, how blockchains do that, nowadays, blockchain software is quite diverse in the way that it does it. But one of the big questions always is what is the incentive for someone to kind of verify transactions, to be one of those people who hold a copy of the ledger? And this is kind of where cryptocurrency comes in the sense that usually what happens is that for someone to become like a node, meaning someone who holds a copy of the ledger and verifies transactions, which requires you to leave your computer on, there has to be an incentive, and that's where kind of cryptocurrency come in. So depending on different ways of choosing who gets rewarded, but the idea is that that reward, which is typically some sort of token of value, in the original Bitcoin blockchain, if you were a Bitcoin miner, you were leaving your computer on, doing something that was referred to as proof of work, and you were rewarded with Bitcoin, possibly, and that was an incentive for you to kind of leave your computer on to verify transactions and maintain that ledger. And this created this distributed network that basically, even though there's no one who can kind of turn it on and off, there was always sort of computers out there to verify your transactions. So if somebody shut off their computer, there was probably hundreds, if not thousands, of other nodes there to verify your transactions. And this is generally the process by which blockchains work. They create an incentive for people to kind of leave their computers, to make their computing power available to this large decentralized network. So instead of having a DTC who may have huge computer farms providing all the computing power needed to handle all the transactions that go through DTC or the Options Clearing Corporation, instead you have people all around the world who don't know each other doing it. And that's why it's called like a trustless system. These people don't need to know each other. They don't need to trust each other, because the way the system works allows them to create these large networks without that trust, that knowledge, which is, again, has a lot of implications. So basically, again, this video, we're just explaining the concept of blockchain. In the future, in the next video, I'll kind of talk more about cryptocurrency and sort of some of the evolutions of blockchain and the business models that blockchain sort of really enables, and why that's important to sort of libertarian thinking and economic thinking. So I'll talk to you guys later. This is Alex Merced from alexmerced.com.